Hey guys, hope you had a good Wednesday workout. Just wanted to take a minute here to talk about a key series of drills that obviously we've been working a lot on over this combine program so far, and that's the load and drive exercises. And so I'm just going to take you through kind of like what we're looking for with these drills and some common errors that I often see with athletes performing it, and with some of the videos you guys have sent in so far, and then also talking about like why are we doing this? How does this translate to what we want to do in the 40s? So we're gonna take a look at this video of me here performing the drill, and like we talked about, purposes of the drills, we're working on projection first of all, so forward movement of the hips off of the line. We said that that's important for an effective start. We're also looking for orientation. Okay, so the attack angles of the body moving forward, so that way we can continue to push forward on subsequent steps. And so when we're talking about this drill in particular, there's two key joints that we're gonna highlight, and the first one is the hips. So we want to make sure that we're initiating the push forward through the hip joint, not the knee joint. And secondly, we want to keep a stiff ankle. So we need a stiff ankle to ensure that we have a stiff platform to push from, and also so that that knee angle, that angle of the shin stays fixed forward in that nice attack angle. Okay. And one of the ways that you can ensure that things are kind of going the way that you want them to is by looking at symmetry in the movement of the body. Okay, and so the common thing you'll see in effective sprinting is symmetry between body segments, and particularly here we're going to look at the angle of the torso, so from this hip up to the shoulder, and we're also going to look at this angle here from the ankle up to the knee. So right now you can see that there's some great symmetry between those segments. They're both at very, very similar angles. And when I initiate that push, even as I'm initiating that push, you can see that those angles stay fairly symmetrical. So even here, this angle is pointing forward and up, and the torso is at a very similar angle there. You'll notice that in terms of the timing, you'll see that my knee and my shin stay in this fixed position. It doesn't move, right? That knee doesn't drop any further. It doesn't rise any higher as my hip is straightening. Okay, and as a result, you see my hips go straight forward, and the knee only straightens as a result of the hip extending. So the knee is still flexed as I'm bringing that hip forward. Obviously now at this point, my shoulders are starting to rise up into a normal running position, but again, you still see some elements of symmetry through that portion, right? As the knee angle now starts to extend up, the torso does, right? But you still see that knee is flexed as I swing the right leg through, and my hips extend, basically followed by the knee. And the knee really actually never really fully reaches full extension. Like my knee isn't locked here. There's like a very slight bend in it. And we actually don't want the knee to fully lock out on extension on our first step. And then again, that idea of symmetry, well, we see some symmetry from this angle of the lower leg all the way up through the shoulders. And we even see some symmetry here in terms of the shin angle on that swing leg shin. So everything, attack angles, pointing the direction we want to go. So let's go to some video now of common errors that I've been seeing. And so I'm going to put one of my athletes here on the spot, but she's actually coming back from an ACL, so she's a pretty good excuse why her mechanics are a little faulty on this one. This is on her the injured side, and so actually I'll just make this a little bit bigger. So let's take a look again at the positions, right? So we're looking at I'm going to move that over. The attack angle. So right now we're set up in a pretty good position. She's got the shin pointing the direction we want to go, torso at a very similar angle. And now we're going to watch as she pushes off. And I want you to watch especially the ankle here. So she starts pushing, and see how instantly that heel drops quite significantly. And what does that do to the shin? Well, the heel drops, so we don't create stiffness in that ankle, and the shin begins to rise quite aggressively at the beginning of this movement. And now we see some asymmetry here. We see a shin angle that's going up in the air, and we see a torso angle that's going forward. Right? That shin continues to rise, that torso is pointed forward. And you'll notice here that she basically like extends and almost fully locks out this knee before the hips even come through. So now we have the opposite. We actually have the knee extending and straightening before the hips. Okay, so this is basically we're using our quad here to initiate that push. We're not using our hips. If I use the hips, that shin angle stays fixed, that knee stays flexed, and then I push forward. But you can see here that her trajectory, because of the knee straightening, sends her up in the air and sends her into this overly vertical posture, right? And we also don't get that powerful hip drive. Okay, so that's one thing. And you can even see this leg on the left, instead of driving straight forward, it starts to come up in almost a little bit of a cycling action. Okay, so we have too much momentum, too much emphasis going vertically off of this start. She ends in a good position, but how she gets there is certainly not ideal. So let's look at another one. So obviously, in this case, we lose stiffness in the ankle and the shin goes too vertical and we straighten the knee early. Well, we can actually go the other way with this. And so I filmed this one, and this one's pretty extreme, but we'll go with it. So now on this one, I'm setting up, and let's watch this ankle, let's watch this attack angle of the shin and the knee. And so I'm going to initiate the movement with my hip. Okay, so I'm firing with my hip. You can see that the knee is staying flexed, right, as my hips are moving forward. But I let the shin roll forward way too far. Okay, so I also kind of lose a little bit of stiffness in this ankle. I encourage too much dorsiflexion, and I let this shin roll forward quite aggressively. And now look at this. We have another case of asymmetry, but now it's the other way. Now I have a shin that's extremely horizontal, that's pushing way forward, and we can see that my torso angle is very upright. Okay, and then I end up kind of in a position like this, and I've seen this in some of the videos. Some of the videos have been sent for some of you where you end up kind of in this posture almost. And again, this is kind of an extreme version of it, right? But you can see the disconnect here where we have a lower body, right, with attack angles that are very horizontal, and we have a torso that's very upright. Okay, so you might get some half decent push forward at the start, but you can tell that as soon as I put this foot down for the next stride, it's just going to send me up in the air, and we're going to lose that horizontal push. Okay, so again, it's all about pushing over that fixed shin, right? We don't want that. We want to create stiffness in that ankle. We want to initiate through the hips, and we want, as soon as we start pushing, we want to see this shin angle stay fixed. We don't want it to rise when we're pushing. See how it stays fixed there? It doesn't rise up, and it doesn't dip any further than that. Okay, it doesn't actually rise up until the hips basically pass, right? Basically pass over top of the knee. Once the hips pass over top of the knee, then the knee extends again as a consequence of hip extension. Okay, and then just quickly, why does this matter? Why is this important? So I'm just going to take a look at this start here from Danny from a couple years back. And so this is at the point where his hand's leaving the ground and he's actually pushing forward off of the start line. So, I mean, take a look at this starting position here. What does that look like? Well, it looks like the beginning of the load and drive drill. Very similar, right? And so we can see attack angles, right? We can see the shin pointed forward, the torso pointed forward, and watch here as he begins to drive out on the step. Notice how that shin stays fixed. Stays fixed. He's pushing. That knee's still flexed. And look at the symmetry as he's driving through. Shin angle pointed forward and up slightly. Torso angle pointed forward and up slightly. Okay, so those same positions that we're talking about. He extends through the hip. He gets hip extension. He probably could have even gone a little bit more before a knee extension. And again, this is what I was talking about. Incomplete knee extension in this case, which is fine, right? And actually is ideal. And we get this kind of symmetry, not exactly perfect, right? For Danny, I would have liked for his shoulders to be a little bit straighter, not as crouched, just get a little bit more symmetry out of that start. But that's pretty good. That's pretty good projection, and those are pretty good attack angles coming out of that first step. And as a result, he's able to cover a lot of ground on that first step. You can see his hips travel forward about a yard off of the line, which is really, really, really good. And then because of those attack angles that he came out with, he's able to continue to push acceleration for further into the run. So anyways, guys, I hope that cleared some things out about that drill and gave you some things to maybe watch for. I really recommend that you film your reps and take a look at them at the end, after your sets, and kind of debrief on them a little bit. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, you want me to take a look at your videos, send them over or post them in the chat with the group. It's an opportunity for everybody to learn, and the better we're able to get these concepts down early, the greater, it's really going to pay off for you guys as we move into January and as we really pick up the pace through this program.